Well, Dustin, we're continuing this conversation as part of our series, focusing on the Ten Commandments and what they have to do with our lives today. And we're talking about the truth about lying. Did you ever see that Jim Carrey classic Liar Liar?
Did I ever see it? More accurate is to ask how often did I see it?
How many times?
Jim Carrey, like anyone who was born in the 80s was like a teenager in the late 90s when Jim Carrey was at his prime. So in my mind, if you weren't a Jim Carrey fan, what were you doing with your life?
Exactly.
Were you a fan?
Yeah. I'm surprised I was allowed to watch the Jim Carrey movies. Maybe they were G, but
They definitely weren't G. Somehow that slipped past your parents. Like the Ace Ventura movies were just cinematic gold, really. And I thought Liar Liar, just the plot line was so rich. It really was a classic.
Yeah, and obviously he had to tell the truth for an entire day. I mean, you think about the world we live in today, and there is just so many untrue words that are spoken. I mean, we almost have this default assumption now. We're just being lied to.
I'm going to guess that Mark Zuckerberg might put a fact check on this podcast. That's the world we live in. It's a world of fact check, but we've come to not trust the fact check either.
Yeah.
And so we kind of assume that there is a sub-story or there is a truth behind what we're being told.
Yeah.
You almost feel naive if you trust government voices.
Yeah. Well, as a journalist, we were trained,
to not trust.
Yeah, and our job is purely to keep the politicians honest,
Yes. We won't open up that can of worms with our listeners.
Moving on.
But yeah, I guess with Liar Liar, it was a comedy, obviously, but almost the underlying message of the movie is that if you tell the truth, your life is going to unravel at some point. Jim Carrey's life unravels in a 24-hour period because he has to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And we laugh at it, but I do think there's an undertone to the script of the movie, which is sometimes, lying is bad, but it's necessary just to keep life moving. And I wonder if all of us maybe believe a little bit of that to differing degrees.
Yeah.
However, if someone was to accuse any of us of lying, hey, you're a liar, we would all be probably offended by that.
Pretty offended, yeah.
So it's a strange relationship that us human creatures have with truth and lies.
And obviously this is the 9th commandment. I mean, what's the context of this commandment that you shouldn't lie?
Yeah, Moses was referring to the Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thought I should maybe clarify that.
Yeah. So the commandment actually in the biblical text is to not bear false witness. We often just casually translate it as, well, don't lie. But the original context was don't bear false witness, which really is a command that forbids perjury.
Right.
Making a false testimony in a court of law. And that makes sense because when you think about it, a court of law is where telling the truth matters the most.
Yeah.
The stakes are high. You can damage a person's reputation. You can damage a person's future. You can tear apart a family. You could invoke a death penalty in that context if you had false witnesses. And so, while sometimes we think about truth-telling and lying as, well, it's a bit of a grey area. There's white lies. Sometimes it's okay. Certainly in this original context, God wanted the world and God wanted communities to be characterised by truth. And that's because people matter.
Yep.
The lives of people matter. And so God didn't want any individuals or any families to suffer an injustice and have their future damaged, their livelihood damaged, their lives put at risk simply because of falsehood.
Yeah.
And so truth matters to God because people matter to God and justice matters to God.
And I guess you just pointed out there why God cares so much about whether we lie or not, and it's because he cares about people.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus really picked this up as well. And like Jesus did with all the commandments, he kind of leveled them up a little bit. So more than a little bit. So Jesus takes the command, don't commit adultery. And Jesus says, well, don't even look lustfully at a woman. Jesus takes the command, don't commit murder. Jesus says, well, don't even be angry. So we should expect that Jesus would take this 9th commandment and level it up. Which is exactly what he does. Effectively, Jesus takes this command and takes it out of a court of law context and turns the whole world into a court of law. Jesus says, listen, not just when you stand before a judge, no, every conversation that you have should be characterized by truth and honesty. So Jesus does more than just forbid lying. Jesus actually affirms honesty and truthfulness.
Yeah.
And he basically worded it this way, and this is not verbatim, but just let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Yeah.
So don't have grades of truth telling. Like, a little bit of shadiness. No, just be a person who your word is your word. And I think Jesus says that one reason is because trust is the core ingredient of any relationship.
Yeah.
How can you have friendships? How can you have a functional workplace? How can you have a marriage if you don't have trust at the build? Like, where trust is broken, relationships are broken.
Yeah.
And trust is built on truth telling and honesty. So I don't think God is asking anything of us here that's that arduous.
No.
He's really just
Tell the truth.
Yeah, just tell the truth. He's really just setting us up to have healthy relationships and to build trust.
In the message on this 9th commandment, there was probably 5 key points about what happens if we do speak truth.
Yeah.
Can you maybe just outline some of those for us?
Yeah, absolutely. On YouTube and podcasts, people can pick up the whole message that Matt Reeves, our Brisbane pastor, preached. But one of the big ideas that Matt communicated is that when we speak truth, it's actually one of the primary ways that we honour our neighbour or love or honour our neighbour. And when you think about it, have you ever been lied to?
Yes.
I'm going to guess it's a yes. You don't have to elaborate. We can beep out the names.
Do you want an example?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Oh, better question. As a journalist, did you ever lie?
I would like to think I didn't. But then,
You hesitated.
do you let the truth get in the way of a good story?
That's a whole other podcast. When a person lies to you, like we've all had that feeling of someone tells you something and then a week later you realise, hang on, what they said was
not true.
Was not true at all. Emotionally, we don't just feel anger. I think we also feel
betrayal.
We feel betrayed.
Yeah.
We feel belittled. We feel devalued. It's not just that we feel deceived. That it's actually a statement about our value. Like, this person didn't think enough of me to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And God doesn't want any person, none of us want to feel devalued, betrayed, belittled.
No.
There's a verse in the Bible, it's in the book of Proverbs. It's just this big book of wisdom for life. And one of the Proverbs says, an honest answer is like a kiss of friendship. And the idea is that friendships are really built on honesty.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's awkward. Like, and your wife says, does this look good on me? How do you answer that, Corinne? Just give us
Zach often says, do you want the honest answer or the one you want to hear?
And how do you respond to that?
I say I want the honest answer.
Okay.
And then he proceeds to probably not tell me.
Well, we're going to get Zach in on the next podcast as well. This is spawning into a whole lot of other podcasts that we need to do. And so, really, if we're going to have trusting relationships, you actually feel like a bond of trust is forged when someone talks to you honestly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's uncomfortable, sometimes it's a bit awkward, but if someone tells you the truth honestly and they do it in a way that is sensitive, i.e. it's not like in front of all the peers or in front of everyone, but they do it in a way that's maybe a private one-on-one conversation. They let you know something honestly, not to demean you, not to crush you. The Bible puts it this way, speak the truth in love.
Yeah. So and you'd much rather hear it, than...
Absolutely. You actually do feel loved and valued and cared for when someone has enough integrity to speak honestly to your face. So that was one of the points. Another point in the message, which I thought is really relevant for this idea of building trust in relationships, is the idea that truth and reputation go hand in hand. And... we've all been sold things in marketing. You believe the advertising and you're like, wow, my teeth will get that white.
Yeah. I've tried them all.
Have you? I've not tried any. I need to. When you do that and you buy the product and you find out that it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, your view of that name, that brand name, goes down.
Yeah.
True of brands, true of people. If someone gets a reputation for, they're a spin doctor, or if they say it kind of halve it and then you'll be somewhere near the truth. It's actually dangerous for a person's reputation.
It's even just the clickbait that you're used to now, where it's it's the headline, it's actually not saying that, but they still get you.
They still get you. And so I think even from a faith perspective, a follower of Jesus would say, well, I trust the reputation of God.
Yeah.
God is true to his word. God is true to his nature. The Bible says God is not a man that he should lie. In another place in the Bible, it says that in God there is no variation or shadow of turning.
Right.
So there's nothing shady about God. There's no shadows. There's no grey. And because of that, a few billion people on the planet trust God, trust his word, trust his reputation. And so I think if we can be those people who, in as much as is possible, we remove lies from our own behaviour, and in as much as is possible, there's not variations or spin or shadows of turning.
Right.
I think then we go a long way to building a reputation that is positive, so that people are more inclined to take us at our word.
Yeah.
So, it's a huge topic.
It is.
And it's a big challenge.
Yeah. And if you want to hear that full message, it is available on YouTube and our podcast. Thanks so much for that, Dustin. And we'll continue walking through the final 10th commandment.
Looking forward to it.